Am I the asshole for not catering to my roommate's vegan diet? So me and my roommate have been living together for about a year and we haven't really had any problems. We're friends, so we're fine sharing a few things in the apartment, but one thing we rarely share is food. Unless we order a pizza or something, what's mine is mine and what's his is his, no exception. So no eating someone else's food, and don't touch their side of the fridge. We basically split the fridge down the middle with little dividers. I get left and he gets right. Well, recently he went vegan. I thought nothing would change, since we don't share food. However, recently he asked me to stop putting raw meats in the bottom crisper little drawer thing in the fridge because the juices could leak onto the other side and get on his vegetables and such he puts down there. Well, in the past he's put stuff other than meat in his side of the crisper, so I asked if it wasn't a problem, then why is it now? He said it was because he basically only puts vegetables down there and doesn't want them contaminated. I'm not usually so stubborn, but that's the best place to put the meat to keep it fresh, so I told him it'll be fine if he just leaves it, but if he really wants to he can just move his stuff elsewhere. He said there was no room, but I basically said that it's his side of the fridge and that's his problem. That wasn't the end of it though. Yesterday I saw him touching my side of the fridge. I didn't want to be childish, so I just shrugged it off and didn't mention it. However, I saw that he'd moved my raw meat and put it right on top of some yogurt I had bought. Not just that, but it was very precariously perched on there. It nearly fell when I opened the fridge. I was kinda mad, because what if the juices did leak? They'd go right onto or into the yogurt and get me sick. He was complaining about that, so in my mind it's a bit hypocritical. Also, the meat would be less fresh, it could have fell, and he's messing with my stuff even though we agreed not to do that to each other. I confronted him about it, but he said I'm being childish and said that he's going to continue to move my stuff as to not mess his up. I just put my stuff back where I had it and told him not to mess with it. Am I the asshole? You're the asshole. If your meat is leaking on other people's food, it's a problem. Doesn't really matter if they're vegan or not. Ace. If it's not a big to rearrange his side, it's not a big deal to rearrange yours. The drawer is designed for vegetables, your meat will be just as fresh if placed on the lowest shelf. And you should place meat on a tray or something for the juices anyway. I also find it ironic that you're getting bent out of shape over the meat juices potentially contaminating your yogurt, but when he brought up his concerns about it, you shrugged him off. He shouldn't be touching your side though if that's against the rules of your place. Not my monkey, not my why are you so insistent on putting meat in the vegetable crisper? Where do you put your fresh fruits and veggies? ESH, because you both seem to care more about winning than about compromise to improve an otherwise decent roommate situation. Bro, if you're upset about meat juice getting on your other food, can't you understand why they're upset at it getting on theirs? You're the asshole. The drawer you are using is a vegetable crisper drawer, and recommendations for food hygiene are to keep meat, especially open meat, separate from other things in the fridge. There's a reason you were annoyed that the meat ended up on your yogurt, and it's because you are aware that there is potential for leakage onto other food items. You need to come to an agreement about this, but even prior to your mate going vegetarian, I would have been iffy about how where you stored your meat if I was him. You're the asshole. It was a very reasonable request, regardless of the vegan status. Don't put raw meat near other fresh foods, anywhere it can spill and contaminate things, or anywhere where juices can get into crevasses. Unless the drawer was previously only used for raw meat by both of you and this has suddenly changed, then he shouldn't have to even ask you to do this. The fact that your roommate tried to physically teach you the lesson by putting it in a place that you found risky and you still aren't grasping the concept makes me wonder if you're an AH or just oblivious. I was kinda mad, because what if the juices did leak? They'd go right onto or into the yogurt and get me sick. He was complaining about that, so in my mind it's a bit hypocritical. It's not a problem, he can deal with it, it won't leak. Why does housemate think it's okay to do? It might leak. IDK if he is the one being hypocritical for that bit lol. You're the asshole because if you're worried about the container leaking, then it's possible that it will leak. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Solve the problem by getting another container to seal the meat products in. You're the asshole, meat always goes to the bottom, if not, nowhere near raw vegetables. Your yogurt has a lid, I assume, and vegetables usually are not packed as anything aside from a bag and may be eaten raw, so I don't think it's a fair hypocrisy to me is that you don't see you doing it to him as wrong but are upset with him putting the meat over your yogurt. Edit. Want to update that my biggest issue here is that OP is making a very simple request by their roommate a huge issue. The fact that the roommate turned vegan has nothing to do with this. Just put your meat in a fridge tray to contain any, shouldn't be this hard. I was the SH until the yogurt. You realize meat dripping can be an issue, but it's fine if it's on his stuff but not yours. This makes you're the asshole. I'm a happy meat eater and I don't leave meat to leak in my fridge because it's disgusting, a pain to clean, and dangerous to health if it gets on something we eat raw. Learn to store your meat properly so it doesn't contaminate anything. Why are you putting meat in the crisper? That's not where it is supposed to go. Info: does the fridge not have a vegetable crisper and a meat drawer? If so, why not just keep the whole meat drawer usually at the bottom for yourself and give him the vegetable drawer? Failing that, take the dividers out so you get the whole bottom shelf and he gets the whole next shelf up. By putting the meat on top of the yogurt, I feel like he was probably trying to make you see his point of view. After all, he didn't want the exact same thing to happen to his veg. In my opinion, ESH. I'm going with you're the asshole here. Your side of the fridge is your side and your stuff, including meat juices, should stay there. Get a container or something to put your meat into and solve the issue of the juices leaking if you really want them stored there. Put your leaky meat in a container. You're the asshole. For that attention whoring title of yours. You just had to make this about veganism, because you knew it would get people on your side. No one likes meat juice on their vegetables. Seriously, get your manipulative shit together, OP. Why don't you split by shelves rather than down the middle? You get 2 shelves and he gets 1 shelf and crisper, or vice versa. You're the asshole. Meat doesn't go in the crisper, it's for vegetables and fruit. Especially if you are sharing. This is food safety. Nothing to do with catering to vegan. That attitude is what makes you the asshat in the story. And where do you keep your vegetables and fruit? Mixed in with your meat in your side? Or do you not eat any? You're the asshole just for the fact that the idea of meat juices leaking doesn't bother you at all if it's someone else's food risking to be contaminated. Which is less of a risk with yogurt, which I guess you don't keep in an open container, than raw vegetables. Get a sealed container for your meat or switch shelves so that your roommate has the ones at the top. You're the asshole, you're being very petty about a polite request. You're the asshole. It's not even a diet, it's literally an ethical practice. But disregarding that you got bent out of shape, that the meat could ruin your yogurt, which is in a sealed packaging, but don't care if his vegetables become contaminated, that would 100% be thrown out when that does happen. You're the asshole. Sort of. If this was a restaurant, it'd be a health code violation. Raw meat can carry germs like viruses and bacteria that can make you sick. These can transfer to our hands, cooking utensils, and other food. Raw meat should be stored at the very bottom of the fridge freezer alongside nothing else. You may have to make a compromise with your roommate where the bottom of the fridge is for raw meat, no matter who it belongs to. You're the asshole. The drawer you are using is a vegetable crisper drawer, and recommendations for food hygiene are to keep meat, especially open meat, separate from other things in the fridge. There's a reason you were annoyed that the meat ended up on your yogurt, and it's because you are aware that there is potential for leakage onto other food items. You need to come to an agreement about this, but even prior to your mate going vegetarian, I would have been iffy about how well you stored your meat if